Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. I am really excited to see all of you. Eventually, there will be some slides. I'll introduce myself in the meantime. I'm James. I'm a director of product management, and my team spent a lot of time thinking about storage, about data lakes, and about data engineering. We have a lovely logo. So today, Ron and I, in the interest of time, I'm going to cut to the chase. We're going to talk about some of our new developments in Apache Iceberg. And I have about 16 slides. We'll see how many we actually get to. Ron's going to run through a demo. Hey, slides. Ron's going to run through a demo and actually show you some of our new developments of Iceberg in action. And I'm really excited about that. Specifically, Ron's going to actually show you kind of an unscheduled, undiscussed demo of using an unmanaged Iceberg table against Athena and Glue and Snowflake and using data sharing on top. It's a really cool demo. Standard disclaimer, I always want to thank all of the engineering teams, customers, and snowflakes who have participated and contributed to this product. It's with everybody's effort that we're able to do all of these things. So first, I want to talk about our journey with Iceberg at Snowflake. If you're not familiar with Apache Iceberg, it is an open table format. It was started by Netflix, and they donated it to the Apache Software Foundation a couple of years back. And one of the nice things about Iceberg is it's engine agnostic. So it's not presupposing you're using Spark or a particular vendor, and it's what got us really interested in Iceberg as a table format. The other interesting thing about Iceberg is it started to think about really complicated problems over time. So it started being opinionated about what does an open catalog look like. And from our perspective, that's actually really important because you can't just have a table format. It doesn't stand alone. You need other things. You need indexes. You need catalogs. And Iceberg is starting to get really opinionated about that in an open way. So we chose Iceberg for a few key reasons. One was the velocity. Even a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we could see, based on its engine agnosticism, it was going to get quite a bit of traction. And from talking to our SaaS provider partners, cloud storage provider partners, we could see that Iceberg was going to get a lot of adoption, which was something that really caught our eye. There's also, as a result, a vibrant ecosystem around Iceberg. There's a ton of vendors who are staking and interoperating with Iceberg, which is great. If you're using data, we don't want you to have to move your data around, redefine schemas. You should be able to work with your data in one place, whether it's inside or outside of Snowflake. Now, interoperability between engines is really critical, and that's part of what Ron will show you. Snowflake is one of many engines that may be actually working with your Iceberg data, and we design all of this from the philosophy that you may not use Snowflake for all of your Iceberg data, and that's totally fine. That's by design. We are designing this to be interoperable and a pluggable part of a larger ecosystem. Last year, we announced 2 Iceberg tables. They were based on what we already had in Snowflake. We had a regular Snowflake table. We had an Iceberg external table. So it was very natural for us to launch an Iceberg external table and an Iceberg table. In the past year, we've gotten a ton of feedback from customers, and it's been really good feedback. And the feedback that we've gotten has allowed us to slightly revise our roadmap a little bit and incorporate that feedback into our product. When I say customers have tested this at scale, I mean they've really tested this. Customers have created very large tables, north of 900 terabytes per table in a single table. They've run hundreds of production or production-like jobs against single tables. The average customer has created a ton of tables. So when I say we've gotten feedback, it's not insert one row, delete. It's customers that are bringing production-like workloads, giving us some really, in some cases hard, but really good feedback. What does that feedback look like? If you've seen Ron and I talk in the past, we really like sharing our product direction, why we're doing things, what customers are saying to us, because we feel like just launching products out into the ether without contextualization or actually connecting them with customer use cases is just tossing stuff over the wall. So what we heard from customers that were testing our Iceberg products, onboarding. Onboarding was really hard. I may have a lot of Parquet files. I may have stuff in other table formats. I may have Hive tables. Make it easy to create Iceberg tables. 2, performance. If you've used external tables, you will know that performance is not the same as the regular Snowflake table or regular Snowflake query engine. External tables use a kind of jack-of-all-trades query engine, very adaptable, but that adaptability comes at the expense of performance. Many queries don't require mutation, and customers have told us they want just really fast read-only queries on top of Iceberg. 3, catalog. Customers typically come with a number of catalogs. If you are a sufficiently large customer or company, you probably have multiple catalogs today. You may have Hive, Glue, multiple Hive instances. You may have a bunch of files, and your catalog is kind of Iceberg metadata. Customers have told us they want Snowflake to have better pluggability into other catalogs. So we've taken all of this feedback and revised our Iceberg approach into a number of new announcements that we're sharing at Summit this year. The biggest is, instead of having 2 Iceberg tables, we're combining Iceberg external tables and Iceberg tables into one table type. And instead of 2 tables, there's basically a property or table decorator now on whether the table is managed or unmanaged. Managed means that Snowflake is the catalog, and I'll talk about our catalog. Our story is the open Iceberg REST API. Unmanaged means we're pointing to some other catalog. We assume some other catalog or some other system is the authoritative source of truth. The biggest changes behind this, you're always using the native Snowflake query engine, so no more external tables. That also means you get things that come with the Snowflake query engine, even if it's read-only, so things like query caching. The other big change is this makes data movement and moving data in and out of Snowflake a lot easier, and I'll talk about that a little bit in one of my slides. There's some concepts that change with this and some that don't. If you are familiar with external tables, you've used external stages, those you won't need with Iceberg anymore. You're going to just use external volumes, which we'll talk about. The second, we've developed a brand new concept called a catalog integration. And Ron will actually show the catalog integration we've developed for AWS Glue. This allows Snowflake to plug into other catalogs to get updates about tables, so we have an updated view, and you don't have to go plumb metadata around. We always can get an updated view of what other catalogs are telling us, because for an unmanaged table, some other system is your authoritative system of truth. 3, there's a bit of changes on our create table syntax and some of the DML, and I'll talk about the implications of that, especially in moving data to Snowflake. Managed tables, Snowflake is the catalog. Tease tables are read and write. You get really fast performance. As Christian mentioned in the keynote yesterday, and Ron and I have mentioned in a session yesterday, and we'll mention today, performance on these tables is about the same as a regular Snowflake table. So we've spent an astronomical amount of time essentially making Parquet a native kind of first-class file type inside of the Snowflake query engine and all of the machinery around Snowflake. It's been a huge, huge lift. But managed tables essentially are like regular Snowflake tables, but they use your storage, they use Parquet, and they use Iceberg. Unmanaged tables are read-only. You will get very good performance on these read-only tables. The performance will vary with how efficient your Parquet is written. That's a bit of a fuzzy concept because different engines can write Parquet in more or less efficient ways. But we've designed unmanaged tables to be as efficient as possible on top of whatever Parquet you're bringing to us, and also potentially on other file formats or other table formats. So unmanaged tables are a great way to plug Snowflake in for really fast read queries. When I talk about really fast, and I sincerely cannot thank all of the engineering team across Snowflake, there's several teams involved, we've taken external table performance and improved it over 2x. So if you have an unmanaged table, an unmanaged Iceberg table, you'll see at least twice the performance relative to what you were using with an external table. When you start using managed tables, that's where you start seeing kind of performance parity between a regular Snowflake table and an Iceberg table. Now, I'm really excited about this demo. Ron's going to show a demo in a second, and this demo is an unmanaged table. So in this scenario, we are trying to play out something that is actually very common in businesses, where you have different teams, they're using different platforms. And if you remember, we're designing everything Iceberg related, assuming that people will use multiple tools together. We're not taking a the view that you're going to use one tool for everything. That's just usually not that common. So in this scenario, there's an analytics team. They're using Snowflake. They love Snowflake. But then there's a telemetry platform team that's using AWS. And specifically, they're collecting data in S3, and they're using Athena with Glue as the catalog to try and analyze that data. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ron to run through the demo.
Oh, come on here. All right, good start. OK, folks, so like James mentioned, we're going to do a little bit of a demo here today. Showing kind of the two different worlds here coming together as one. Whole idea is, let's avoid exporting data from one side of the house, importing it from another, maintaining multiple copies of data, having to worry about those copy jobs, all of that stuff. We can work on a single copy of data in the Iceberg format. So we'll start off here. We're in Athena. I've got this table created. This is the inventory table from the TPCDS data set, 10 terabyte one. Just do a quick row count here. Take a look at what the row count comes back as. So we see about 1.3 billion-ish records here. With that kind of row count, keep that one in mind. Let's go over to Snowflake. So here we're going to create an unmanaged Iceberg table. That Iceberg table is going to point to that same copy of data that Athena wrote out to S3 and is using the Glue catalog to manage metadata over. Okay? So as James mentioned, there's a three-step process to creating your unmanaged Iceberg table. You're going to create an external volume. That points Snowflake to the storage account. You're going to create a catalog integration. That points Snowflake to your Iceberg catalog. And then you're going to tie those two concepts together with the create table DDL. So we'll run this first, create external table command. That's got the path to the storage as well as the storage credentials. Then we will run the catalog integration. So this is, we're pointing out to Glue, having a different set of credentials for that Glue catalog. Can use the same, can have separation there as well. And then lastly, creating the Iceberg table. So this is creating it as a name inventory with the catalog table name as inventory to that Glue catalog instance and that external volume. So when I run this now, Snowflake is reaching out to Glue, understanding what that Iceberg snapshot is, understanding where those Parquet files are, grabbing the Parquet footer statistic information, bringing that back to Snowflake. So that all kind of happened in that DDL command there. I can then, now that I've got that object created inside of Snowflake, there's been no actual Parquet movement of data into Snowflake at all yet. Just that Parquet metadata. We can run a metadata command here. That basically tells us, hey, we've got the same row count. Everything looks good. Okay? So that's kind of the basic step zero here. Nothing too earth-shattering. So then we'll go back over to Athena, and we can insert some more data. So I'll run this insert command here in Athena. This is going to populate some additional data into that inventory table. So here Athena, again, is writing out Parquet, and then it's going to generate a new Iceberg snapshot that's going to be registered inside of Glue. Okay, and then I can come back here after I've loaded more data. We have this alter Iceberg table command. This will actually refresh, get the latest copy, latest snapshot, latest set of statistics out of the Parquet file. This is a manual operation right now. We'll look to have that automated so you'll be able to stay in sync with Glue, but for demo purposes, for now, from where we're at with the preview, it's a manual alter table command. So that's done an incremental refresh of that Iceberg table. We can do another row count query and see that we've got additional data inside of Snowflake now. So this is kind of the handshake back and forth between Athena, Glue, S3, and then integrating that into Snowflake as an unmanaged Iceberg table. Now with that object inside of Snowflake, we can start to do things like leveraging Snowflake features, cross-platform features like data sharing. So that's what we'll look at here next. So I'll do a show tables command here. I've loaded up some additional tables inside of Snowflake for this demo just to save some time. I've got a date dimension, a catalog sales table, and a store sales table, along with that inventory table that we were previously working with. We can take a look at these tables here. So the catalog sales is the top guy. Scroll to the right here. So we can see that that's an unmanaged table. The date dimension is a standard Snowflake table, so it's not an Iceberg table. This is our Snowflake standard storage format, as well as that store sales table is also a standard Snowflake table. So what this is the view that I've already configured for data sharing. What this view does is it combines an unmanaged Iceberg table with some data that you've already got loaded into Snowflake. So back to the kind of that base scenario that we were talking about, we've got one team working with data in S3. We've got another team working with data that's already inside of Snowflake. I can combine those two things together into a single secure view and then push that view out for data sharing to other consumers. Okay? So this view is already created. This view is already shared. You can take a look here at the show shares. We've got our consumer account that we've published this share to. We can hop over to that consumer account, see that we have the sales share here, and then go ahead and let's take a look at that view and query it. So here I've switched windows. I'm on to the consumer account where I've pushed the data share to. Do a quick check of show shares and see that I've got my inbound share. And then I can run that sales share view. So what this has done, no data movement into that consumer account. We've reached in and combined Snowflake standard storage along with unmanaged Iceberg data on that S3 bucket into a single view, and we've rolled up basically catalog sales and store sales. So standard storage, Iceberg storage, rolled up by date. So that's kind of base kind of scenario for the data sharing. We can actually go back now, back to Athena, and we can actually load some more data into that catalog sales table. So again, we're writing out to S3, generating a new Iceberg snapshot, and then we can see, okay, that data has been inserted. Come back to the producer account, and I can refresh that Iceberg table. So this is catalog sales now. All right, we've refreshed the catalog sales, reached out to Glue, brought in that new table metadata. Go back to the consumer now. Okay, we loaded data up to 529 originally. We loaded that additional day's worth of data in Athena. When we rerun this view now, with no data movement anywhere outside of S3, we can then look at additional data has been loaded into that view. So we brought in the data for the 30th. So that's combining, again, standard Snowflake storage with unmanaged Iceberg tables, and then published out to consumer accounts using data sharing. So with that, I think we're all done, and I think we have a couple minutes maybe if there's any quick questions. Come on up.
So can you convert unmanaged Iceberg to managed Iceberg?
Yes, that's a good question. And I thought I had a slide on two things, then I lied to all of you. One was the catalog and one was the alter table. I will give a shameless plug and an answer to your question. Ron and I have a much more detailed session later on today if you're curious, and we'll talk about this in depth. And also we'll be there, so if you have questions that we can't get to today, you can come heckle us. So once you create that unmanaged table, if you want to make it managed, it's just a simple alter table command. And that alter table command basically changes the catalog pointer from whatever catalog integration you've pointed us to the Snowflake catalog. And the Snowflake catalog is exposed as Iceberg REST API. So on our, one of the goals from our side was with the Iceberg catalog not to have a Snowflake catalog, and also, honestly, not to push people to use the Hive Metastore API, because that's, I don't know, it's not a great solution from our perspective. So we're going to expose the Iceberg REST API. When you alter that table, it will show up as a managed table in the Iceberg REST API.
Yeah, and that conversion, there's no data movement for that. We use the data that's already written for the unmanaged table on your S3 bucket. As long as that external volume has permissions to get there, which you've already set up for your unmanaged table, we'll use that data in place, and then Snowflake can start writing additional data to that volume.
And just a follow-up,
Yeah.
can it be done reverse way? Can the managed become unmanaged?
Can you go from managed to unmanaged? Yeah. That's not currently on the scope list right now, but certainly would love to hear more feedback on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like, do you have like demo or metrics for other query engine querying the managed?
Sorry, could you get a little closer to the mic?
Like metrics to query the managed Iceberg table from, say, Athena?
Do we have metrics for querying data from Athena?
For the managed Iceberg table
yeah.
from Snowflake.
We have some. Athena is a bit of an interesting one where, it's mostly integrated with Glue. We don't have Glue as a catalog support right now for our managed tables. But we do extensive testing with Spark regardless. Yeah, and certainly, yeah, performance numbers are looking very good there as well.
One last thing I'll say on that. When we start using other catalogs as the authoritative source for managed tables or moving stuff back, it's not actually a technical problem. It's more of a logistic problem of how does compliance work? How do we then exfiltrate your security and governance and metadata? Because then, if it was managed in Snowflake for a year, we then have to have a good way to hand off, here's a year's worth of use of this table. So it's not we're trying to be evil. It's more, we actually just need to wrap our brains around what those use cases look like, because the number of things that could go wrong are pretty high. Cool. Thank you all very much.
Yes, thank you.